And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. It's me, Jake, and today we're talking about The Outer Worlds 2. This is Obsidian's latest RPG. It's the sequel to the one that released in 2019. Now, that game wasn't everyone's cup of tea. I personally liked it when I played it, but honestly kind of forgot quite a bit of it as time went on. Like, I found it well constructed, but not always memorable in terms of moments or lore. But either way, in 2025, leading up to this sequel, the developers, Obsidian, have been busy. You know, they released Grounded and another RPG game this year, Avowed, that I didn't really enjoy as much. And the trailers for Outer Worlds 2 didn't exactly wow me. Now, having said that, Outer Worlds 2, after playing it, is solid, man. If you liked Outer Worlds 1, you're gonna like this one. It's Outer Worlds, but better and stronger. They've tightened up the combat, they tell a bit of a different story, and have more fun with the character progression and decision making and dialogue and construction of it all. I don't think it's like a complete slam dunk all-timer. I still don't find some of the characters or companions very memorable, and there are some issues here and there, but I think this is a real nice upgrade from Outer Worlds 1. So I've been playing a review copy, and this footage is captured running on PC and is spoiler-free for you. So just off the jump though, I know people always ask, you don't need to have played Outer Worlds 1 to jump into this one, right? So some of the tone and the world setup might feel a little bit jarring if you're new, but I think after a few minutes, you'll slip right in. The game explains some things well. You create a new character in a new corner of space with new planets and new factions, right? So you're a space commander, and there are these destructive rifts that are popping up across the galaxy, and you're getting to the bottom of that when stuff goes south very quickly. And when you wake up, you're essentially starting from scratch, and you need to figure out like all these different planets, build up a crew, and deal with multiple clashing factions in good old Obsidian New Vegas style fashion. And what I quickly noticed was, on the surface, it feels like just more Outer Worlds. But the deeper you get, the more it feels a bit distinct as a sequel. You know, different technology, more interesting factions, a lot more robots, and just some cooler stuff going on in the world building. Now, tonally, it keeps with Outer Worlds 1, but kind of chills out a bit. It lays off on the zaniness a little bit, going for something a bit more serious, while still not feeling like a complete and abrupt tonal shift. You know, I still laughed and chuckled along the way, but it wasn't as like in your face. But really, again, like where Outer Worlds continues to make strides the most is with the RPG stuff. So the setup, you create a character, but you don't have attributes in the traditional sense, like health or endurance or strength that you're like, you know, bumping up with points. Here, you dump points into a couple of passive skills every time you level up. Every 2 level ups, you get a perk point to spend on these fun perks that pop up as you put points into skills. So for example, like, you know, put some points into the gun expert or the science skill. And as you progress, you'll have the choice to spend into perks that have to do with using guns or the science stuff. So the perks are gated by skills, but then the perks can also be gated by having other perks as well. So it all really gels together nicely. And once you start getting into it after a few levels, it just feels really, really nice. Honestly, I don't know, like, have a better way to describe it. It's satisfying in a way that just feels different than dumping points into, I don't know, encumbrance or endurance or some shit. Along with that, the flaw system returns and it just feels distinct now. So the game will, at the start, give you some flaws that you can choose that are kind of like trade-offs, right? Think of like, well, you'll have a little bit more health, but now you're not as stealthy or like something like that. They have way better spins on it than my example off the top of my head, but you can choose from the start or not. But as you play, the game will present more flaws to you and you can choose to embrace them or not. Like, for example, there's one called Bad Knees, where after crouching for a while, the game will give you the flaw of, if you want, you can get much faster movement speed while crouched, but you'll also make more noise. So there's always trade-offs for these things, and if you're an RPG sicko, this is just like a really fun way to play around with the game because you can actually just pack on a shit ton of flaws. You could be like a smart idiot. You can be a sick, confused person. I personally leaned on leadership skills and also embracing flaws where I kind of hung back and let my NPCs do more damage up front. It's really fun to embrace this stuff. And then of course with that you can lean into guns guns, melee weapons, stealth, explosives, hacking, stuff you'd expect. But where it all comes out best is, to me, personally, in the dialogue and conversations. This is once again the game's bread and butter, and Obsidian did a really good job with it this time around. This is what kept me playing. So every time you get to a new town or zone, because it's not open world, like it's not like a full open world thing, you're hopping around. All of these places feel like their own little like houses for sub-stories or acts. And it is clear that the game still really loves to hear itself talk, right? Characters are just waiting to dump tons of dialogue and quests and side quests on you constantly, everywhere you walk. It can kind of be overwhelming. Like, I like a densely packed area with quality questing, but characters just say tons of stuff. Like, and I say that as somebody who likes Hideo Kojima games, but like, if here it feels like the game had a required word count, and I hate to say it, after a while, some of it went in one ear and out the other. It's not an indicator of quality, really, but it's just because the sheer amount of it. And that being said, though, like when it does rope you in with an intriguing character or an in-depth side quest or main quest, it does all work really well. You're constantly given multiple options and tough decisions. Sometimes multiple times in a conversation, and other times in a place you least expect. Plus, the game does a really good job of like smoothly integrating your past decisions into conversation and choices, like from your background choice. So I chose for my background the gambler, and every so often was able to take a risk saying something weird or using my gambling knowledge. And both my choice and how characters reacted to this stuff never really felt shoehorned or like you could see the seams, you know? Some games, the dialogue, the way it's written, the way it's constructed, you can see when they shoehorn in your character bio or like some decision you made. You know, here it is absolutely smooth, and it's cool to see go down. Plus, having experience in like a observation skill or speech skill or a ton of other skills all have their use cases that pop up and reward you. I've screwed myself over plenty of times, but I've also saved my ass here and there, walking away from a tense decision tree where I was just glad I had happened to invest points into guns because I could talk my way out of it, threatening to shoot everyone or something. Now, shoot you will here. However you engage with combat, either way, like you're gonna have to at some point, and it feels much tighter this time around. Guns are exciting, straight up. And they feel good to shoot, from loud sound effects to solid feedback and a good bit of loot that actually feels meaningful. Not too far in, you start picking up some cool weapons. Some of the melee stuff still just isn't my favorite. It feels okay, but regardless, you also have access to gadgets like slow down time from Outer Worlds 1, as well as a shield and more stuff as you progress and find stuff. Is it the cleanest stealth? No, but it's doable, and I'm glad they give you just enough tools. Is it the best first-person shooting? No, I've cheesed my way through some things, and some enemies are still really spongy, but it's better. Enemy AI is rough a lot of the time, and your companions also die a lot thanks to sheer stupidity. But that aside, it can be very challenging combat in general, in a good way. Like, I was surprised just how much I was pushed and incentivized to really like min-max everything and really shore up my equipment and weapon and ammo types. And I'm just talking normal difficulty. The game also offers multiple difficulty modes for you. One other issue is third-person mode. I like being able to walk around in third person and really engage in the game entirely in third person. I'm a third-person preferred person. Say that 3 times fast. But here, the way it's implemented, it still just feels a little bit like playing, you know, I don't know, a Bethesda game in third person. It's not perfect. Sometimes it looks a little weird, and I found the camera angle to be kind of uncomfortable most of the time. Most of the animations look pretty good though, and it is definitely doable if you're down, but personally, I just didn't really prefer it. Now again, I found all the loot, from weapons to armor, meaningful. Like, you're picking up a lot of shit constantly, right? And that can be annoying, just staring at tables and the floor, but when you get a good weapon or a good piece of armor, it's noticeable, it's meaningful. And what helped me care about all that is that the game just has a good weapon and armor mod system as well, where I can add a scope or corrosion ammunition to my gun or additional resistance to my armor. You can find these mods, you can buy them from vendors, or even craft them. And I just like this system quite a bit. I wish the UI in general, like and the small inventory images of the items themselves were a bit clearer, cleaner, more identifiable at a glance. Like, it took me a minute to get my head around some things in the UI where It's cluttered, but it feels like it doesn't really need to be, like it overcomplicates things. Same goes for the journal for tracking quests. It's more of a formatting, like a text formatting thing, but it can be really easy to lose progress at a glance in your quest journal just because of so many bullet points, like endless. Small nitpicks, really. Honestly, you can argue that the quest journal is kind of messy and gets hard to read just because of the sheer complexity of all these quests, at least. Now, companions, I mentioned before, once again, they have their own personal quests that you can do, and they're pretty interesting quests off the jump, at least the ones I've experienced. The companions also still have special abilities and can be commanded in the field to use those abilities in real time. They also have a nice little upgrade track screen where you can switch their weapon traits and prioritize what their armor protects once you've progressed enough and fulfilled certain things, and like sometimes they also look cooler too. I just like the way all of this is handled. You know, it's not too complicated. It's not too oversimplified. They also hang out in your cool new ship called the Incognito, which I think is just a cool upgrade from the first game. It's a good ship. The companions themselves, it's going to be a matter of personal taste. Parvati was the only one that stuck with me from the Outer Worlds 1 base game, and in this sequel, yeah, I don't know. I can't tell who the fan favorite is going to be. No one truly shines, and that was a bit of a bummer. Some of them have their moments, but like, I don't know. Not as memorable as I would hoped, but at least none of them outright sucked. Well, one of them did. We just disagreed, so I kicked their ass out. Bye. Anyway, that's the beauty of these types of games. Again, it's all about the decisions. The game presents tons of like these Fallout 3 megaton opportunities to you, you know, moments that change things, or you lose out on something big. You feel the choice. I've enjoyed really checking out all those little pieces. Right at the start of the game is a good example. You know, the first planet, this island region, it gives you like one big objective and then a million branches as to how you accomplish it. Side with one faction or the other, or, you know, try to sabotage or brute force or sneak. And you can kind of end up doing a little bit of all of it, and that's what kept me interested. Plus, there's a reputation system and meters that you can track and look at as well. Now, like a good RPG, the game is prepared to roll with your screw-ups and bad decisions. Every so often, I had a bad encounter or something I had to like cheese my way out of, but sometimes that's the nature of these types of games. It was really cool to get to a new region or land on a new planet and get the lay of the land and see how to accomplish the next big chunk of the game. The only thing is you move on from characters a lot or you kill them off, so it can feel like a bit of a revolving door of characters that don't stick. But again, I like a game that lets me choose. Like, if I just want to murder someone, I can. Or if I want to just be an asshole, take the worst possible route, I can. And the worlds can feel pretty large and sometimes a bit bland, unfortunately. There are some regions, and like when hit with the right point of day or night cycle, they just don't look that good. They look flat and dull, even on a higher end PC. Roaming around the open zones, like out in the wilderness, it's kind of disappointing, if I'm being honest. Just not really very engaging. You don't always come across a lot, and you're just kind of fighting weird bugs and stuff. Like, what the game really prioritizes are the outposts, the towns, the hideaways, the labs, the camps. Like, these are where the game really flexes the art style, the characters, the writing, the detail, the cool interiors, lighting, and it can show you some really cool stuff. The game can go from feeling so lifelessly empty in spots to being super dense RPG Rubik's Cubes. And I'll say that the good outweighed the bad here for me personally. So while it's not like an absolute stunner, like it doesn't have like insane ray tracing or like hyper realistic graphics or anything, the characters look cool, the armor is good, the lighting is good, but the thing for me presentation wise was the music. Like a Fallout game, you can connect to a radio station and roam the wilderness, where I found the wilderness kind of boring. At least I was roaming it in style with some really cool, kind of old-timey inspired music and some really great new spins on radio ads. Like, think 1940s, 1950s radio commercials, but in this sci-fi universe. This stuff really, really works well. I was really into it. So in conclusion, I found the humor of the game still solid, but less over-the-top obnoxious. I found the stakes a bit more serious, while still finding the satire biting. The moment-to-moment characters, not so memorable, but the overarching plot, the whole adventure, interesting. But what I love the most was just seeing how this RPG is constructed, picking through character creation and progression, making good and bad decisions, trying to play both sides with the factions, checking out the reputation meter. All of this is awesome, and it's good to see Obsidian still has it here in terms of how they build it out. So again, it's more Outer Worlds, but I think just stronger this time. I still would like a tighter focus on more memorable characters and moments, but regardless, this game does have some cool bits, and if you played Outer Worlds 1 and you enjoyed that, I think you might like this one even more. But hey, that's it before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I want to hear yours down in the comments. I'd love to know your experience with the original Outer Worlds, and if you're jumping into this new one, what your expectations are. If you're an Obsidian fan, do you like their older games, their newer games? Let's talk about this stuff. If you like this video, hearing some info, seeing some gameplay, maybe it informed you, clicking a like button's all you gotta do. It really helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting a notification bell, because we do put out videos every single day. But I'm Jake Baldino. I'll catch you every Friday on the news show and some of these before you buys here. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.